Okay, so this is indeed the running jackal. And this is indeed his last day in England on the grand European tour. This first part of my run is uphill. Up a laneway behind my brother's house, chasing after a black cat. I'm a little bit pushed for time today. So it'll be 48 minutes of recording. So I'm going to run for 24 minutes in this direction and then come back and say goodbye. Sunday, the 28th of March, of February, February. The number of people who say February is unbelievable. But apparently it should be pronounced February. The other word that's very often mispronounced will come to me in a minute. I heard it the other day on my EasyJet flight from Valencia to London a few days ago. There was a very bilingual English girl who obviously was studying Spanish in Spain. She was sat next to an almost equally bilingual Spanish man who was flying to London for work. And they were having a very heated, very fast conversation. Not heated in a sense of argument, but in the sense of high-powered diction. It wasn't English or Spanish 101. It was more like English and Spanish 301. And during the conversation, the English girl said to the Spanish man that his pronunciation was very good, and that is the word. Pronunciation, not pronunciation. You might pronounce a word, but the pronunciation is how you pronounce that word. Interesting, eh? Languages 301. He was probably tipping her off on some of her pronunciation in Spanish. But it's funny, for me, having been in Ireland just the other day, I went for an Indian meal with my friends Bill and Trish, who I used to know them as Pat and Wally. Pat is Irish and Wally is a child of a Palestinian refugee from World War II, the same way that I'm a child of Spanish refugees from the Civil War. Anyway, he married Pat, and they went back to Sligo to live in her hometown. And shortly after they arrived, my friend Wally realized that he would have to make his name a little less of a joke for the Irish. For some reason they don't think that Wally is a particularly serious abbreviation of William. So he changed from Wally to Bill, and Patricia, Pat, changed from Patricia to Patrish. All to do with fitting in with the people that you're living with. I'm coming up to a pretty noisy, unavoidable section of road. Coombe Road, New Malden. I ran this way yesterday after getting off my flight from Knock Airport. It was interesting yesterday when I was on the plane. I spoke to the flight steward and asked him if I could buy train tickets from him to get into London from Stansted, which is about 60 miles, maybe 50 miles from London. And he recommended that I take the National Express, which is a coach, a luxury coach, that instead of the journey costing me £29.70 combined fare, train and metro, that I should take the bus for £8 and then take the metro. Now I think the train was 1970, that's right. and the combined fare for the bus and the underground and the overground was £9.70, so I saved myself £10 by going in by coach, which was about an hour and 40 minutes coming in from the north into London through some of the cheapest and poorest neighbourhoods of London, which are now almost exclusively populated by Sikhs, Hindus and Muslim peoples. There was a sari shop on every corner. It was very interesting because before I left in '81, that was a stronghold for the Brits, the Cockneys, the working classes. But I guess they all did well and moved out. It's the migration of population. Just crossing Buxton Drive. Today I'm using my wrist microphone clipped to my Timex Ironman watch strap. Hopefully there won't be too much swishing of arms. Today I fly to Toronto and I will be met at the airport by my good friend Alan, the guy who I met at the airport in Valencia. I have just heard the 2-kilometer mark. I did set my timer for 24, so I will turn when I hear the beeps. There's a magnolia tree in bloom, or semi-bloom. They haven't opened up yet. I have one gripe of the journey from Ireland back to England, one complaint. And that is with the carrier, Ryanair. They are notorious for charging for everything extra, and they are very strict on the size of your hand luggage. That was not my issue. when I booked my flight in Spain on the computer, I had no problem whatsoever booking and receiving all the relevant data that I needed for my flight, namely my itinerary. They recommended that I downloaded the app for my phone, which I did. And sure enough, 24 hours before my flight, I was notified that I could get my boarding pass on my phone. Which is the way things are done nowadays. You flash that little checkerboard image as your boarding pass, and they scan your passport, and voila, you're on the plane. Well, that was seamless on the way out. On the way back, I got notified that I could get my boarding pass for the return. So I dutifully went to the app and clicked on the appropriate tab, only to be notified that if I didn't check in online, that there would be a surcharge to pay at the airport. Now, I tried pretty much continuously for 2 hours to log in. You know how it is, they say put in your email, put in your password. So I did that, and like most people nowadays, we have more than one email account. So when it didn't work, I assumed it was because I was using the wrong email account. So I changed that and then put in a relevant password, which appeared to be irrelevant, because that didn't work either. So with 2 email accounts and 3 commonly used passwords that I kind of rotate through, you can figure out that there are quite a few permutations of which none of them worked. So rather than upset myself and my friends on the 2-day visit to Ireland, I decided to get to the airport a little bit earlier and to sort it out, which I did, but to no avail. The Ryanair counter was adamant that I had been notified of the surcharge of registering on the day, and on a 32 euro flight I had to pay 45 euros as a penalty for not having managed to extract my boarding pass in any way, shape or form from the Ryanair website or app. So what should have been a cheap flight of about $60 or 60 euros, let's say 70 euros, I ended up having to pay another 45 in penalties for last minute registration. It's a bit like the last minute registration fees on a road race. Anyway, I was quite philosophical about it, saying to the Ryanair woman, an Irish woman, young lady I should say, that it was kind of like planning to go to the races and losing on a big bet. So even though it was a pleasant day at the races, I kind of lost a big bet. And I worked it out. It was like paying for an extra leg of the journey. 1/3 on top of the price was the surcharge. And then if that wasn't enough, on leaving the Ryanair counter, I was told that we had to go through the red line to pay our airport improvement surcharge, which was charged to all passengers, Ryanair or not, 10 more euros. So 55 euros more than I had anticipated. But if you think about the bottom line figure, it's still quite cheap. Next time I will probably fly Aer Lingus or EasyJet. There's a runner coming towards me. She's running on the North American side, so I will take my position. Hello. Accordingly. Pretty soon, in about a minute, I will be heading back, because this will be a real-time, no breaks recording. I will have exactly 48 minutes of recording when I get home to Louis. And then he wants me to show him how I edit movies. There's another runner coming towards me. Hi. And a woman with a little dog. Hello. I won't quite get to the house of Dwight Eisenhower, but very close. I can see the sign from here. Alright, so that's my signal to head back. I'm now chasing the little dog back. I don't think I'll catch the man. He's running a little faster than I am. But now I have the breeze behind me, so I will probably warm up a fair bit. This is where I recorded the birdsong episode the day that I left for Spain. This is the only place that I have run whilst in England, to and from and around Richmond Park. Hello. It's me again. Hello, doggy. The English people aren't quite as friendly as the Canadians. I'm sure if I stopped to speak to her, she would feel slightly intimidated to start with. Just running towards a Korean couple. Hi. Nope. They have adopted the style of the country to which they are now living, which is pretty much the theme of today's monologue. How humans adapt to their surroundings. Maybe I will work on that theme as my title. You'll have to give me a little bit of time to figure that one out. Today's ride is going to be 7-ish kilometers. I think I will call it the environmental adaptation episode. Keep you all guessing as to what it'll be about. I'm a firm believer in calling a spade a spade. Hence the abundance of this is yet another Wednesday show type titles. Just turning onto Edgecombe Close, which is a cul-de-sac with an animal gate separating the paved road from the laneway. I guess it's to stop the wildlife wandering into people's backyards from the golf course. As I break my stride to go through the sty, I've watched some very good British movies and television shows since I've been in Europe. There was one very good one. I think it was with Judi Dench, I could be wrong. One of those grand dams of British movie making. A film called Philomena, based on a book of an Irish girl who had to give up her child to the nuns, and then the nuns sold the child to an American childless couple. In fact, they got 2 for 1. They bought a boy and a girl from the nuns. I won't tell you too much about the story, but it's well worth watching. Very good screenplay, very good script. There's a guy just unclipping from his bike. Like the Spaniards and like most European countries, you don't get the casual cyclist so much as you do in North America. Here, you're either dressed with all the triathlon or road gear, or you're in your car, of which we're just about to be passed by a Rolls Royce. Yep, that was a Rolls Royce. Going over a speed bump. The British are very proud of the Rolls Royce brand. Not so much now that they're owned by Daimler-Benz. But in the old days when they were proudly British, they had a reputation of being incredibly well made and incredibly comfortable. One of the complaints about the Rolls-Royce back in the day was that the clock was too noisy. You could hear the clock over the sound of the car itself. So you can imagine how luxurious and quiet the interior of a Rolls-Royce would be if the clock was the loudest noise that you heard. So, running downhill now, I should have a little extra oxygen to speak. I should be entering the glory zone. Where there is a surfeit of oxygen, an increased flow of blood, and an abundance of endorphins. I hope this recording turns out well, because I probably won't record when I see Alan, because for one, it'll be cold, and for two, I think Alan is a little bit reticent about being recorded. He is a very quiet, unassuming man, and I don't really want to put him on the spot to perform for the Jackal. He was quite happy to let me do most of the talking when we did run together in Spain. He is going to be taking me on his favorite run on Monday after we get up and have, I don't know what kind of breakfast he has before he goes out. We have a fair amount of time, so we don't have to rush. And if I don't have a recording to make, I won't be thinking about what to tell you all through the night. I hopefully will be able to have a couple of beers and go to sleep. Alan, like me, is quite fond of good beer. But the other downside of the return trip, other than the Ryanair fiasco, was the fact that I booked a hotel room for my return to Toronto before I had realized that Alan was such a friendly kind of chap. But another bad day at the races. I lost my booking fee. It was a no refund policy on the price that they quoted me. I sent them an email asking if they could refund me, but I got no reply. They already had my visa number, so I'm pretty sure that I have been charged, and I'm pretty sure that they will rent the room again to someone else. All in all, it's been quite a cheap holiday. I don't have expensive taste. I think in Spain, my biggest outlay was food, followed by data, followed by beer. My biggest expense in Ireland was airfare and surcharges. And my biggest expense in England has been beer. So all in all, quite a cheap holiday. Plus, I had a windfall at the beginning when I managed to free up a dormant account that I had to be there in person to authorize the opening of that account. That money alone has paid for my entire trip. Plus, I'm going home with £700 in sterling. 6 kilometers, she says. I can believe that. But I've noticed that from the beginning of my trip to now, my running speed has improved by about 20 seconds per kilometer. I was quite surprised yesterday. Even with walking up the big hill in Richmond Park, I still managed to do a quite reasonable 6:12, I think it was, 6:12 pace. Faster than my ultra marathon pace of about 6:20. I think it's the constant repetition that I've been sticking to. I have run almost every day this year and most of every day last year. And I think in a way I can thank Judy Mick and the Slow Running Club for that, because of the Veda, the vlog every day, run every day kind of thing that was going on in April and in August. And As I think I once alluded to, the only reason I don't call it a streak is because there are certain days when I know that I'm going to be unable to run because of travel restrictions, like being on a plane for 20 hours, that kind of thing. But I guess you could call me a journeyman, a runner. So this episode, before I forget, is going to be called the Environmental Adaptation episode. I had to say it twice to remind me of the title. I already have my boarding pass on my phone for the Air Canada flight from London Heathrow to Toronto Pearson Airport. No Ryanair app crap issues there. Pretty soon I'll be back on the laneway behind Louis' house. This is exactly where I saw the mangy fox on my first run this year in England. But Alan, like me, tends to do the same runs over and over again. He, like me, understands the importance of consistency. And the fact that the heart is the most important muscle that we train. Running across the bridge over the railway line. I have downloaded a lot of audio material to listen to on the plane, and on last minute checks, I think I'm totally up to date with everybody, unless Steve or Kevin or Jim has put out a show today. I'm not sure about Norman. I'm a little concerned that he might have lost the spark for his flame on that one. I could be wrong. Spreaker is a very friendly medium for rekindling one's mojo, because it has such a small audience. We can relax a little more and not get too concerned about content. It's almost like performance anxiety. Podcasters' performance anxiety. I think this is where I turn. According to my chronometer, I have 2 minutes of running, and then I'm home. No, it's the next road. Two minutes is quite a long time. It gives me enough time to say fare thee well to my listeners, and probably the next time you hear from me, I will be in Canada as I enter Louis' laneway for the last time this year. I bid you adieu. To the sound of the chirping birds. Well, it has been a negative split, mainly because the outward journey was basically uphill. You might actually catch a few words of greeting from my brother as I ring his doorbell. So I have already said goodbye to you, so this will just fade to black.
Hello, Carlos.
Hello, Louis.
Good run.
Very good run. Wonderful run.
A little bacon for you.
Pardon?
I've got some bacon for you.
You're such a good brother.
I shared exactly what's left.
So bye-bye.